Investments are important, but they certainly aren't the whole retirement plan. Depending on how those investments are structured, they're also going to cause potential tax issues. I like to do it on a whiteboard where we draw, and my handwriting's god-awful, so I don't know how people read it, but, we draw out those 5 pillars, kind of think through our concerns and, our goals in each one of those areas. Then we pull all that data together. So maybe retirement gets kicked out a year. Would you be in better or worse shape by being prepared to retire this year if it ended up being the next year? Yeah, you'd be in better shape, right? Because you've already done the exercise. So by acting with intent there, we're prepared. Whenever the time comes, right, we can retire with intent, turn on those income streams, make sure our investments are adjusted. And then throughout retirement, we want to live with intent. That is the final and ongoing step where we're going to continue to update things. What if retirement wasn't the end of something, but the beginning of everything you've always intended to do? Today's episode breaks down our proprietary planning approach, the True Intent Planning System, designed to help you retire with purpose and confidence.
Welcome to the Relax It's Retirement podcast with your host, Josh Leonard, where we talk about transitioning into retirement with intent. I'm Wendy McConnell. Well, hello there, Josh.
Hi, Wendy. Today we're going to play a drinking game. For every time we say intent, you have to take a shot, okay?
A shot of coffee?
Perfect. I only have water, so that's what we'll work with.
All right. It doesn't sound as much fun as would be with alcohol, but we'll work with it.
It's early week, so
and it's early day.
Yeah, it's not a good time to drink, but we will say intent a lot today. So
okay,
our internal system we call our tips system, and this isn't your dad or your uncle's stock guy that's got hot tips, right? This is our true intent planning system.
Okay.
So this is what we use as a platform to help prepare people to transition into retirement and retire with intent, live with intent throughout retirement as well. So like any major life transition, it's better if we prepare ahead of time.
Absolutely.
I think many times when we meet with folks leading up to retirement, they're concerned about, will I have enough money? Have I saved enough? What are the tax implications, or just general fear of, I don't know what I don't know. We're entering a new chapter.
Right.
So what should I be concerned of?
Okay. So you're going to help me out?
We will. We break it down to 5 different pillars. So first of all, we look to optimize income, right? When we retire, guess what? Typically we lose a paycheck. Unless we have a pension, which is still slightly different, our employers aren't just going to keep paying us to not work there, right?
Okay.
So we need to figure out that income plan. We need to optimize for income. So most folks have Social Security. Maybe we have a pension. Maybe we have annuities or rental properties. How does that all fit together into your plan? And then what is the income gap? So if between Social Security and your pension, you still need an additional $2,000, $3,000 a month, where is that money coming from, right? We need to develop a plan to do that and keep up with inflation over time.
Right.
So certainly most folks are thinking about that, right? If the paycheck goes, where are we going to get the paycheck? Next up, we want to talk about investments, right? So most likely we've saved money in our 401k, maybe IRAs, maybe outside brokerage accounts. How are those investments going to help us get to our end goal in retirement?
I don't like the way you just skipped over paycheck, because I've never heard that before, and I find it to be
paycheck,
ingenious. Right? I love that.
It's good. Yeah.
How do I increase my paycheck?
That's right. Yeah, we need to make sure we have income in retirement, right? That's when we get to play more, right?
Yeah, I love it.
We when I was in college, I remember I was a finance and poli-sci double major, and I remember reading that a finance major at that time, average first year out of college, makes $40,000 a year, and thinking like, I'm good, right? That's all I need.
I'm gonna be rich.
Yeah. The reality is, of course, like car, any student loan debt payments. Oh, you want a house? everything else, right, that you're not used to paying for. And certainly in college, probably ate a little bit more ramen than I do now. And,
Right.
expenses were a little bit different. We get into our career, if we're building a family, suddenly it seems like those are just paychecks, right? They go to pay the bills, right? We go to work to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
We try to save as much as we can. Retirement is supposed to be that chapter when we get to enjoy it. So play checks, right?
Love it.
We make it fun.
All right.
So more play checks, but if Social Security and pension, if we have one, maybe part-time work, if those income sources aren't enough, we're going to be relying on our outside investments to help supplement income there. So we need an investment plan, right? We want to be conscious of our fees, comfortable with the risk that we're taking, right? And if we don't need that much and we don't like risk, maybe we should be more conservative. If we need a lot more out of that and we're comfortable with risk and maybe flexing our income up and down with the market a little bit, maybe we take some more risk there. That's where we define out that investment plan. Making sure that we don't just, put it on the shelf there and kind of ignore it. We need to be checking in on that regularly, analyzing those fees, making sure that our portfolio matches with our life goals. Investments are important, but they certainly aren't the whole retirement plan. Depending on how those investments are structured, they're also going to cause potential tax issues, right? So if all of our money is in our 401k or IRA, every dollar coming out is a taxable dollar. So we need to be mindful. If we need $2,000 or $3,000 additional per month, what's the tax implication of taking that money out? If it's $10,000 a month, guess what? Uncle Sam's going to take a bigger piece of that, right? So we have to factor in the taxes. If we think about our tax picture in retirement, the more tax diversification we have, the more flexibility we have. So we've talked about the tax triangle in the past, and ideally all of our money is just in tax-free accounts, right, Wendy? We never have to pay taxes again.
That's easy.
Yeah, we're on easy street. The reality is that's not the case for most folks, right? Most of us, we've saved in our 401ks or IRAs, and it's going to be taxable. If in the early years of retirement, though, we can do Roth conversions, potentially avoid what we call the good saver tax problem, where come RMD time, where we have those forced distributions, we have to take that money out. If we can avoid that excess withdrawal that we might not need all the money, that's awesome. Also, we want to be careful with the next generation too, right? We don't want to leave them, maybe we don't want to leave them any money, but if we do leave them money, we don't want it to be fully taxable, right? We want it to be tax advantageous for them as well. So we want to think about our tax planning. We also have to think about health, right? Do we typically get healthier as we get older?
I don't know about you, but I certainly am. But no, that's not usually the way it goes.
I am more health conscious than I was.
Is that not the same as healthy?
I think about it more, but that doesn't mean that, I think I talked about on the last podcast, throwing out my back, that's like it doesn't happen when you're like 14, right?
No.
I don't know. Somehow I used to skateboard then and I could like fall down steps and get back up.
Because you were like glue and rubber.
When you're 80, you don't fall down steps and get back up, right?
No.
You spend a couple weeks in the hospital.
Yeah.
How are we covering those bills, right? So we need to make sure as we transition onto Medicare, or if we're fortunate enough to retire prior to age 65, Medicare age, we figure out how we're going to manage that cost of healthcare.
All right.
Depending on the state you live in, there is different health exchanges. So if you're retiring prior to age 65, if we can keep income low enough, you might qualify for some of those subsidies to help reduce your out-of-pocket cost. In Pennsylvania, it's called Penny. This is commonly known as Obamacare, right? Each state has their own set of rules to administer it, but this is a way to help control the cost of healthcare. It is an income-dependent system, not an asset-dependent system.
Okay.
So if our income's low enough, we can qualify. It doesn't matter how much we have saved for retirement.
Well, that's good news.
It is. Yep. And, once we go on to Medicare too, we have to keep in mind of the decision there, right? We really have one big decision, and that is Are we going to go the Advantage plan route or a supplement plan route? So supplement, we take traditional Medicare Part A and B, add on a supplement to help cover any of the gaps within that plan. Or we can do an Advantage plan, which kind of wraps everything together. We also need to be conscious of the prescriptions that we're taking, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the cocktail you're prescribed, right? It might be higher cost for certain drugs or lower for others. Depending on that individual plan, you can shop it out to try to minimize that cost as much as possible. Each and every year, that changes. So guess what? We should be shopping that out again, and your prescriptions might change over time as well. So we certainly need to be aware of that. I think the other big health concern when we look to prepare to retire and thrive in retirement is our long-term care, right? If we need to go into a facility, it's expensive. My one grandmother is in a facility now that's over $10,000 a month. That's a lot of money, right?
It is a lot of money.
Where are we going to be pulling $10,000? And I don't think it's going to get cheaper, right?
No.
The two of us are so young. I mean, we have at least 60 years before that's a concern, right?
Oh,
Wendy?
stop trying to flatter me.
But that cost will most likely go up. So what is our plan to cover that, right?
You got to figure it
Is
out.
there insurance that we want to look at, or self-insuring, or trying to protect assets and spend down to qualify for Medicaid?
What's next?
Did you have something else to add there? I felt like I talked over you, Wendy.
No, I really didn't.
Okay.
I'm still just thinking about that compliment you gave me.
Well, just like that, right? We want to be complimented as we transition into retirement, right?
Right.
We want to retire to something, not from something.
All right.
Right? This is a new chapter in life, a new opportunity to do things that maybe you never had the time or the chance to do earlier in life. So we need to take a 4-step process. We always start out by strategizing with intent. So we talk through those 5 pillars with anyone and get organized, right? What do we need for income? What are our income sources, right? Sometimes folks are maybe a year or 2 out of retirement and aren't even sure how much they're going to get from Social Security or a pension or other income sources. So let's get that organized. Let's understand what gap we might have there.
Mm-hmm.
As we talk through income, we also want to check in. Hey, what are our investments? Sometimes we get a financial junk drawer during our working years, right? We set up that one investment account through our cousin's uncle's brother's neighbor, who seemed like a really nice guy. And we did it like 20 years ago and we kind of forgot about it, right?
Right.
It's been there. I get the statement. I don't know. I don't talk to anyone about it. It seems like it's done okay. Or maybe it hasn't, but I haven't done anything with it, right? Maybe you have old plans from previous employers, right? Maybe you haven't made any investment changes in those or adjusted your risk tolerance as you got closer to retirement. So you need to get those things organized, make a list, right? Understand where you stand there. We need to start thinking about our taxes, right? What tax concerns do we have in retirement? What is our tax diversification as we stand now? Do we have many options? We also need to start looking at the cost of our health options. If we're retiring age 65 plus, evaluating those Medicare pieces that we just talked about, thinking about long-term care. If we're going to retire earlier, see if we can build an income plan that can keep our income low enough to qualify for the state health exchanges. We also need to think about our estate plan, right? So this is a great time to go through, update your wills, power of attorney. If necessary, evaluate, update, or establish a trust. Thinking through this in our first step is really just that high level. What's our strategy, right? Is it important to leave money to the kids, or is it more important to, get that bucket list travel done? And if there's something left for the kids, great.
Right.
Is it a priority to fund 529 plans, right?
Oh,
529
yeah.
plans, next generation, Wendy. Have you ever heard that one before?
Grandpa, are you listening?
Yeah, Grandpa. Birthday gifts. School's going to start here.
So what is the 529 again?
529 is an education plan, right? So when we think of giving money to the next generation, a 529 plan is sort of that retirement account. It's a protected account intended for education use. The cool thing is, right now, under current law, grandparents can fund those 529 plans, and it doesn't show up on the FAFSA form.
Okay.
So when you are applying for aid, when you're applying for college, that won't work towards disqualifying you from any potential benefits. So that's a pretty big win. When you contribute to those plans, in most states, there's some sort of tax deduction on the state level there. They also grow tax deferred as long as you use it for educational purposes. It distributes tax free. Now, if you have a grandkid that is, really, really sharp or earns an athletic scholarship or whatever it might be that they don't need that money, you can always switch the person that it benefits, right? So you could switch the student on that plan. You could decide to go back to school in retirement too, if you want.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, what happens if your other kid's a dope?
Find a new one. No. Move it on to the next one. No, but we can switch the individual receiving those benefits. It can be passed on to the next generation as well. So
Okay.
maybe, we have a lot of clients that used 529 plans to save for their kids. Their kids are done with school now. If there's any remaining funds, they can leave it there, leave it invested. And when and if they have grandkids in the future, they could update it to pass those funds along to the grandkids as well.
Okay.
If that's important to you, certainly that should be something that's built into your plan. So during that strategize step, we really want to think through that, right? We want to get some details of high level. And I like to do it on a whiteboard where we draw, and my handwriting's god awful, so I don't know how people read it. But, we draw out those 5 pillars and kind of think through our concerns and, our goals in each one of those areas. Then we pull all that data together. Right? So if we don't know our Social Security, we're going to pull the most recent statement. If we don't know how much is in that old 401k or from our cousins, uncles, brothers, sisters, neighbors account that we invested with, pull all those statements together and start to analyze, right? In that next step, when we act with intent, we are starting to put the pen to the paper, right? We're building out that plan. We're starting to look at what cash flow is going to look like in retirement. Are our investments enough to sustain that? At the end of that, we make a commitment, right? We look to formalize that act of moving forward. So we say, hey, we're going to retire next year. This will be the plan. Now, Wendy, have you ever made a plan and things changed?
All the time.
Yeah, okay. So maybe retirement gets kicked out a year. Would you be in better or worse shape by being prepared to retire this year if it ended up being the next year?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be in better shape, right?
Right.
Because you've already done the exercise. So by acting with intent there, we're prepared. Whenever the time comes, right, we can retire with intent, turn on those income streams, make sure our investments are adjusted. And then throughout retirement, we want to live with intent. That is the final and ongoing step where we're going to continue to update things as the family evolves, as your needs in retirement evolve. Maybe you think you're going to stay up north throughout retirement, but 3 or 4 years in, you get sick of the winters, right? So you think about relocating. Okay, great. Let's update the plan to change that. Maybe your homeowner's insurance cost goes up drastically. Maybe you have a mortgage again all of a sudden, but maybe your state taxes go lower. So how do we balance that out? And what are the implications of that move? We always think it's better to know the implications ahead of time. That doesn't mean you can't make the decision, but at least know, is this potentially going to cause me to run out of money sooner? Or will it be a neutral event, right? Some costs go up, but other costs go down.
Yeah. Okay. So we want to make sure that, maybe we can live a little more risky if, we a decision makes us a little less cash efficient. So maybe we could just live more dangerously in case, I'm just rattling.
So what's the
here.
more
I'm trying to be funny here, maybe, do some zip lines or.
Yeah. You could. Yeah. I mean, I think in terms of living more risky, certainly, if If you have a surviving spouse, though, make sure you buy life insurance. It's a great way to replace potential income. No.
Right. With my luck, I would fall off the zip line, just be severely injured, but not dead. It would cost a whole lot more.
Ziplining to me makes me think of something that you do on vacation, right? Typically, you're not going to go down the street and go ziplining.
Like from mountain to mountain, it's like that.
Yeah.
Right.
When I rode up Haleakala last year in Maui, there was a whole ziplining thing that I rode by. So my mind goes there, which would say, okay, maybe in retirement, we want to be a little bit more risky with our budget in the early years, where we want to go knock off those bucket list items. So we're going to spend more than we know is sustainable because we know we have our mobility early in retirement.
Right.
We never know when those health concerns could come due for you or a spouse. So we certainly want to make sure that we have a plan that can sustain and build those things in, right? Maybe travel is extremely important to you. Maybe you've been so busy working that you haven't got to go to a Taylor Swift concert, a Super Bowl game, and watch your team win. I mentioned Hawaii, Italy. Pete's going to Italy again soon. Those are all things that, many of us aspire to do at some point in life. Maybe we're reaching retirement. We just haven't had time.
Okay.
Great. Let's do it before we throw out our back sitting on the plane or whatever it might be. Let's do that earlier. So to me, when we think of being risky in retirement, it could be that. Maybe you're a little crazy like me and you want to do some endurance bike events. Well, there's some danger there too.
Risky.
Certainly. What's that?
It's risky.
It's risky. I just signed up for another one, Wendy. I'm going to get one in the books for sure.
Good for you. When is it?
It is in November in Austin, Texas. So
that you will be able to fulfill your New Year's resolution.
Kind of.
All right.
It was supposed to be 2 local races, and Austin is not really local.
No.
But I got 2 big bike things, so I'll do that, and then I'll ride up Haleakala again this year. So
okay.
I won't completely fulfill the goal, but it's 2 big bike challenges that hold me accountable.
Okay. I think they count.
Okay. We'll summarize that in January then.
Okay.
If I do really well in this bike race, though, I can do Leadville again. So it's a qualifier for Leadville. So hopefully
a
I can go do that again.
Qualifier.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyways, my intention is to go back to Leadville at some point. Sub 9 hour. Get a belt buckle. It's big. I don't know if you remember me talking about this, but if you finish in less than 9 hours, you get like this big belt buckle, very Western kind of thing.
Do the girls get a belt buckle too?
Oh yeah, anyone does.
Who wants a belt buckle? Ugh.
Have you ever been to a rodeo?
Give me a medal.
Everyone.
I've been to a rodeo and I will not be back.
I've never been to a rodeo, for the record. But I think the belt buckle's cool. You do get a medal too. I got a medal for finishing.
All right.
But if you finish in less than 9 hours, you also get the belt buckle.
Oh, okay. An additional prize.
It's a whole significance thing with this race. Also, like if you do it 10 consecutive years, I think 20, you get like a bigger belt buckle and they start to get comically large. I think there was one last year that someone had done 30 years in a row. And I don't even know how you'd wear it,
It's like one of those boxing ones or the
metal
wrestling ones. Or
Flava Flav clock. Yeah, that kind of style. What do you think, Wendy?
Flav. I never thought I'd be talking about Flava Flav in a podcast about financial advising.
It all comes together, If your intention is to have a gigantic clock around your neck, you need to prepare by strengthening up your neck. Otherwise,
right,
you're gonna have some pain.
Exactly. Yeah.
We slightly got off topic there. But whatever your goals are in retirement, let's work through a process to set that up. Let's build out the plan ahead of time so that we don't transition into retirement and have a list of surprises rather than knocking out that list of bucket list items.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
What do you think, Wendy? You ready to retire now?
I would love to retire now. I'm just a little short on cash.
So intentionally find that target to save to get you there, right?
Yeah.
Or commit to working and easing down on work, but still getting to do the fun things while you can, right?
Okay.
So you bring up a good point. For everyone, full retirement is not an issue, is not a reality, right? For some folks, we just can't save enough to be able to fully retire. But if we save enough to help supplement income so we can work less and still do all the fun things in life, then that can also be a win-win. The scary part there is making sure that we have the appropriate health plan, that if our health prohibits us from working in the future, we would still be able to pay our bills. And if married, we don't leave our spouse in a bad position.
Yeah, that's important.
Yes, as long as you like them. If you don't like them, then it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, well, it depends on the day.
Fair enough. So for us, the true intent planning system is thinking through that, right? Taking the 4-step process to understand all 5 pillars of your retirement plan and make sure you're looking at it from a holistic view, not just focused on income or investments, which we mostly hear about. By doing that, we might miss the increased cost in Medicare by taking a larger withdrawal from our IRAs or 401ks. We might also run into estate planning issues or, pay way too much to Uncle Sam unnecessarily. In a recent class, we went through an example where very quickly in the 12% tax bracket, we can pay an effective tax rate of 50%. And that's only by taking $1,000 additional withdrawal. So if we think about the end of year, maybe the holidays, maybe we want to be a little generous around the holidays, we take out more money. If we had to pay half of that to Uncle Sam by surprise, that would not be a good gift, right? It's a really expensive gift at that point. So by planning ahead of time, we'll know where we stand in our tax picture. If we need to take more money out, great. If it's going to cost us almost 50% taxation, I personally would like to know that ahead of time. So
for sure,
encourage you to build out that plan so that you can retire with intent. To learn more about our process, you can go on our website, leonardadvisorygroup.com. On the website, too, you can watch other recent podcast posts. You can also see upcoming classes that we have in the Pittsburgh area. So if you are working towards retirement or starting to think about building out that retirement plan, checking out one of those classes is a great way to learn more. So check out our website at leonardadvisorygroup.com. It'll be linked in the show notes as well. Thanks, Wendy, for joining today and having a couple good laughs with me. A little throwback to Flava Flav, We got Taylor Swift in there today, too. So
we did it all. We really did.
We got it all in. So mission accomplished. Thanks again for joining, Wendy. And until next time, remember to retire with intent so you can live your golden years with the happiness and excitement you deserve.